To make the spaghetti you need white, translucent, and this one is called vanilla. You mix them all together and then you put them into the extruder. Use the smallest circle hole for the spaghetti. To make the meat for the spaghetti, you use light brown, translucent, and dark brown. And you mix them all together. You then roll them into little balls to make little meatballs, and you grab some crumpled up alfoil or a toothbrush or anything that's going to give you some texture and roll it around on each of the meatballs that you plan to make. If you want a more rough texture, use the needle dotting tool as well. To make the turkey meatballs, you get beige, more translucent, and a little bit of white, and you mix them together. And you can also bake a bit of green clay just to add a little bit of herbs or texture to the turkey meatballs as you would in real life. Then you roll them into little meatballs like you did the beef ones and texture them, and they're done. And there's your spaghetti and meatballs. If you want to add herbs to your spaghetti sauce, then you just get some green, dark green, light green, and a little bit of translucent, bake it, and then chop it up. This is the same one that I added to the turkey meatballs. And of course you can't have spaghetti meatballs without cheese. So for the grated cheese I used this Fimo Soft. It was bright yellow and I added about the same amount of translucent, probably twice as much. Then I baked it into like a sausage and cut it up, ready to be sprinkled on top and into the sauce as well. And carrots for the tomato sauce. You just pick any orange that you think will be suitable and add some translucent to it. Roll it into a sausage. You could either bake it now and then cut it when it's done, or you can cut it now. I obviously cut it now. Chopped up onions are just basically translucent. You don't need to add any white to it. Then you roll it smaller than you had the carrots, and I flattened it a little bit. And then you split it in half to make it even smaller, and then you chop little bits off. This is just baked brown and translucent clay that I chopped up to make little bits of meat in the tomato sauce. There's the carrots, there's the onions, now you need the tomatoes. Tomato is red and a lot of translucent, any red you want. I use Kato, obviously. And you just mix it together, and then you roll a little sausage and chop it up into little tomato bits. Now all of this can be done baked or not baked. I chose a combination of both. Yeah, you can also add peas, anything else that you usually add. Now this is just a little bit of the spaghetti that I wanted to add to make stand up so that the fork can go into it. It looks like somebody's eating it. So I had to bake this little bit along with all the other bolognese sauce bits here that I hadn't baked. Now this is green, light green, dark green, and translucent for zucchini spaghetti. I wasn't quite happy with the color of the spaghetti, the zucchini spaghetti, but meh. If you want the zucchini spaghetti to have a fork in it too, just grab a little bit of it and put it on your baking plate here. And bake. To make the bolognese sauce, I just grabbed some of that red that I used to cut up the tomatoes before. Then you mix it with TLS. And then you also grab some pastels to change and mix around the color a little bit. I added some black, not much though, and some deep red and a little bit of brown. Your baked spaghetti pieces with the fork that should be going in it. This is the part where you just get to play around. You grab your unbaked spaghetti and your meatballs. This is bacon bond. I just wanted to make sure the meatballs stuck. And you place a little bit of bacon bond where you want the meatballs, and you can have more meatballs or less meatballs. And you just place them all on there. Then you add your mixture of tomato bolognese sauce with the carrots and the onions and the tomatoes and the TLS and the red. And you just place it all over, and you should also have some unbaked pieces of all those vegetables that you can sprinkle over the top, and this is what I'm doing here, and you sprinkle the cheese on as well. Now I'm not baking mine on my plate because I've painted my plate with a spray can, and yeah, it wouldn't be very good. So make sure if you do this that the spaghetti is not bigger than the plate. Now you add the spaghetti bit for the fork, you put some bacon bond there, and then you stick it in and you get the unbaked spaghetti to help it stand up. And then you just add the tomato sauce and also some melted cheese, which I'll show in a second, which is just made by using the TLS and the yellow for the cheese with a little bit of translucent, and you just dribble it all over it. And you splatter some colour over it if you want some. And you just do the exact same thing with the zucchini spaghetti and the turkey meatballs, or whatever meatballs and spaghetti you choose to do. You just do the exact same thing over again. Now you don't have to make your tomato bolognese sauce chunky. That's how I usually have it, so I decided I would do that. You can have yours smooth or really runny or whatever you'd like. You also don't need to add this bit of spaghetti if you don't have a fork or you don't want to put the fork into it. Just have it flat. Once you've made the spaghetti how you want to, just bake it. You bake it for about 30 minutes at about 90 degrees or whatever your instructions say. Now this is the result. You still need to add the fork to it and some gloss glaze. I initially put the gloss glaze on just the tomato sauce and the cheese and the stuff that I added, but then I decided later on to add it to the spaghetti as well because I really liked the way that it looked. Now at this point, if you want to, you could glue it onto your plate. I chose not to because I like to have different plates for different things, and this is just an example. But yeah, you can glue it on with just any old glue. And to add the teeny tiny fork to the spaghetti, you just grab some super glue. Yep, it's as easy as that. You just grab the super glue. I put it onto the spaghetti and the fork and my fingers as well, and I did get stuck to it. but I always do that. But yeah, you just whack it in. You try and put it at the top so it looks more realistic, and hold it there for a minute, and it should be done.